In this video series, we are going to learn how to create this Instagram login page, and you can see there are a floating labels. So when user click on here and type username, and the placeholder will become the label, and you can see the password also do the same. And there are also show hide password by clicking this. And you may also aware when two input fields are filled in with input, this button will become has a darker blue colors. So for example, we type something here, you can see it changed to a darker blue. So now let's go to create a new project. So we go inside the terminal and we type npx create next app with Tailwind, and then we type misc ig login teach, and then we start building a new project. And then we type cd misc ig login teach, and then we type code dot to enter the VS Code. So now under the pages, we create a components folder, and under this folder we create a new file called login.js, and then we type _ rafce, and then we type login here, and then we go to the index and we delete all of these unnecessary content. So we just remove this, and then we create a div, and then we create a login and save it. Now we go to the terminal, and then we type yarn dev, and then if we type localhost 3001, you can see the login appeared. So we are going to add some style on this login component, and then we have a class name is equal to xscreen, and then bg grade 100, and then we have fresh, and then we want to align in a column, so we use a fresh column, and then we have justify center and items center. So all of them we will place horizontal and vertically center. And then we create two div. So first we create a div and with background color white and margin bottom 3, and then we type login here. And then the second one we do the same with background color white, and we just type another div. So now you can see the two div aligned vertically center. This is because we have placed the item center here, and you may not see these gray color. So if we change this to a darker gray or 600, you can see this two div is aligned vertically center, and it is in fresh column directions. So I turn it back to 100. In this part, we are going to add this logo to our web page. So we can go to the global styles, and inside the styles, we add a class of Instagram logo, and then we save it, and which has a background image of this URL. And if we go to this URL, you can see this image, and we can have the position of 0 pixels. And if you drag this line to the top of the Instagram logo, you can see this is 130 pixels. So we get this value is negative 130 pixels, and we set the height and width like this. So after we get this class, we already add this, so we can go back to the login page, and then we replace this with h1, and then the class name is Instagram logo. And if we save it, we already can see the logo appeared in our web page. So the next thing we have to deal with is to make this rectangle shape with the light gray borders. So we go to the div, and then we want to add the border, and then we want to add the border gray of 300, and then we set the width of 80 pixels, and then the padding top of 8 units and padding bottom of 4 units, and then we have the fast and the fast column, and then we have the item centers, and so we have the fast in the column directions. And if we add the item center here, we should expect that it will align vertically center. So if we back to our website, and you can see it aligned vertically center. So later, if we add this input field, we can expect this also aligned vertically center, and just like the finished version. Now we are going to create these two input fields. So under the Instagram logos, and back to the project, we replace this with a form, and the form has the width of 64 units, and it also in using the flex box, and the direction is in column, and we have the gap of 1 and the margin top of 8, and then we remove this action, and inside the form we create two input fields, and the input field with the class name of the width is 100%, and we have a round corner, and we have border, and then bg grade 100, and the padding is 2, and the text is extra small, and the placeholder is phone number, username, or email. Now we save it, and we can see there is a input field already exists, and then we duplicate this, and then we change this to the type of password, and then we also change the placeholder to password. So we already create these two input fields. The next thing that we need to do is to create a floating label. So when the user click on this, it will float to the top. Otherwise, it will become just like a placeholder. So we go to the login component, and inside the form, we create another div to hold the input field, because we want to paste the label on top of the input field. So we have to use the class name of relative, and then we create a label that with the class name of absolute. So we type the label, and then we have the class name like this, and then we enter the same thing as placeholder, because we want to make the label to pretend as placeholder. So we copy this again, and then we paste to label, and now we want to position this at left 2 and then top 0, and which has a text of gray, because we want to make it as placeholder like, and we have the text is extra small, and this is a custom class that do not exist yet, and we have the text is extra small, and this is top of 2. So you can see if the placeholder shown, it will have a lower position, and you may ask, where is the peer? Actually, we have to add this in the input field. So what it is doing is, if the placeholder exists, it will exist at the top 2. So for example, if we back to our web page, you can see this is overlap, and if we type something, it will go to the top. But you can see the size of the label is very large, because we haven't had this class yet. And the next thing is, we have pointer event none, because if we do not have this class, you can see we cannot click on typing, because it is blocked by this label. So we want to disable, so the pointer will not select this label. So we go to the Tailwind config because we want to add this class. So go to the Tailwind config.js, and under the theme we have this extend. So in this curly bracket we add font size, and then we add another curly bracket, and then we type extra small, and then we use 0.55 rem. Now if we back to our web page, you can see this is much more makes sense. If we add something here, you can see it go to the top. If we delete this, it back to the bottom. But now you can see this overlap with the placeholder, and you may think that the solution is to delete this placeholder, but you cannot do this because, for example, if we go to the placeholder and then we delete this one, now you can see whenever we type something here, the label still exists. This is because this is triggered by whether the placeholder is shown. So if actually there's no placeholder, it will never be triggered. And the next solution is maybe you want to delete this one, so the placeholder exists, but actually it also don't work because now if we type something, the label still at the place. This is because it takes it as no placeholder. So what we can do is we add another class name, which should be placeholder transparent. So when we save it and we delete this word, now you can see the placeholder already become transparent. What you can see now actually is the label. So when we type this, you can see it go to the top, and when we delete this word, it go to the placeholder position. So now we can duplicate this for the password. So we copy this and we duplicate, and now we change this to password. And actually for the placeholder you can do nothing on this because this is already transparent. But for convention we delete this and change to password, and we also change this to password. And now we delete this input field because it already duplicate and it do not have the floating label functions, so we delete this one. And now if we type the password, it will go to the top, and this is the same for the first input field. Now we are going to add the show hide password button, so when the user click on the show hide button, it will show hide the password. So we back to the login component, and after the labels we also want to add the button. So after the label we add this and we format the document, and now we have the button with the class name absolute and the right to and bottom to, so it will put at the right bottom of the input field. And we have the focus test grade 500, so when we click on this button it will turn grade. And we also want to has a round corner, and the text is small and the font weight is semi-bold. So now we can test on our web page. So when we click on this, you can see it turn grade. And we also actually do not need this round corner because we do not have any background. So now we go to click on this. You can see it has a gray colors. So now we are going to add the functions to show and hide the password. So first we have to go to the top and add the state. So we use the use state, and then we go to add show password, and then we use set show password, and then use state is false. And then we create another functions, and then we use press show, and then we pass the event, and then we use event.prevent default, and then we set show password to not show password, So what this means is if the default value is false, when we press on this will become true, and vice versa. So we have this function, and now we are going to bind this to our button. So we go to the button, and then on here we add on click, and then we pass the event, and then we use the press show. So now the first thing is if this is show password is true, then we will display the hide. So when the user click on the button again, it will hide the password. Otherwise, it will show the show text. And we also use this to control the type. So at here we use if show password, then this is text. Otherwise, this is password. And we have to define the use state. So we go to here and import the use state from Vue. And now we have this show hide button. So now we can try on this and press show, and then press hide. So this is how to create a show hide button. After we already add the show hide buttons, we are going to add these login buttons. And the interesting thing is, if you do not fill to both of them, it will not have a darker blue colors. But if you type something here, both of the input field already filled, and these colors will change to a darker blue. So we go to the div, which is after the input field. We are going to add the button, and we just use a tag to create this button. And this is very simple if there's no other functions. It just has margin top of 2 units. The text is small, and we put it at the center of the button. And we just use a light colors, light blue, and the text is white. And we have the paddings, horizontal padding of 1 unit, and we have the round corner, and the font weight is medium. So now if we back to our own website, you can see we already create this login button. But now we are going to check whether we have filled in the input name and also the password. So we have to create another state, and we use the use state again. And this time we are going to add the state has filled both, and we change this to has, and the default value is false. And we are going to use the reference, the use ref, to get the values of the username and also the password at once. So we have to add the name, username, and also we add the name at another input field, and the name is password. And then we go to create a ref. So we use ref, and then we use form ref, and then this is null, and then we put the form ref to here. So now we can get the values by using the form ref. So now we are going to create a handle change functions. So to detect the change of the values when user typing the username or password. So we type handle change, and then we set the constant form is equal to form ref dot current, and then we are going to check if the form username, because we already named the username here. So we are going to check if the form username dot value dot length is greater than 0, and we do the same for the password. If both of them has value, we are going to set has filled both to be true. Otherwise, we use set has filled both to be false. Now we are going to bind this function to the input values, the input field. So we type on change is equal to handle change. So we copy this and also paste this to password. Now we are going to change the colors of the button. So we back to the login button. And then we change this to template literal. So we use single quote, the backtick, and then we use the curly bracket. We use the curly bracket to wrap all the classes, and then we add the dollar sign, and then we are going to check if has filled both. Then we use the darker blue, so we use 500. Otherwise, we just use the 300 and save it. The use ref is not defined, so we go to the top and then we are going to import the use ref from React. Now we have this login button, and when we go to click on all of this, it will change to a darker blue. So this is how to create this login button. And we go to the global styles and we add another Facebook logo, and which has the position of -414 pixels. And we have thought before that if we want to get the position of the logo, you can open the Photoshop or other software. You can drag this line and you can see this is left about 412 pixels and this is 414 pixels. And you can also drag from the top. You can see this is about 260 and this is 259, and which is very similar. So now you can get this position, and this is the image of this one, and we set the height and width of 16 pixels. So now we can use this in our login component. So we back to the login.js, and after this div we go to another div, but this time we are going to create the button with the class of margin top of 4 units, and we want to use display flags, and then we use the div and then with background no repeat, and then we use the Facebook logo that we just create, and then we have the margin right of 1 unit, and then we are going to add another span, and then we type login with Facebook. Now if we back to the website, now you can see it already has the text at here, but we have to change this to something like this. So we have to change this to extra small, and also the text is blue, the font weight is semi-bold. So now we are going to add this class. So we add the class name, the text is extra small, the text is blue with 900, and this is a darker blue, and the font is semi-bold. Now if we back to our own website, you can see it has login with Facebook, and we just add some typo here, and we just has log. Now we can see the login with Facebook button already appeared. At this moment, we just has this box here, and now we are going to create another box which has the don't have an account and sign up please. So we back to the project, and at this div we go to add another class name called the width of 80. So this is the same as the first div. So if you go back to here, you can see the width is the same as the previous one. And now we are going to add the border, and it also has the border grade of 300, and then we use text center. Now you can see the div is exactly the same as the previous one. It also has the gray borders and also the white background, and the content is at the center of the div. So we continue. Instead of typing div, we are going to add the span with the text small, and then we margin right 2, and then we type don't have an account. Now we can see this sentence, and then we want to add the sign up buttons on the right side. So we continue. We put an A tag with the class name is text blue 500, and then the small text and also the font semi bold, and then we have sign up. Now you can see it has the sign up and also don't have account. So we can see we just leave some space here, so we have to add some padding. So back to the div, we go to this and then we type py 4, so it has the padding of 4 units on top of the content and also below the content. So now you can see it has the paddings on the top and also at the bottom. So now what we are missing is we have to add these 2 icons and also this sentence. So to create this, we have to go back to the global style and add 2 more class, and this is the Google Store and also the Apple Store, and this just set the height and width, and we already explained how to create this image. So now we can back to the login.js and we create another div. So the div has the margin top of 3 and also text center, and then we create the span with extra small text, and then we type get the app, and then under this we add another div with class name of bg no repeat, and we add the style of Apple Store logo, and we just created at the global styles. So we can save and we try to take a look on our web page. Now you can see the Apple Store already appeared and also has the get the app. So we just has to add another div to create an Android logo. So this is Google Store, so we change to Google Store logo. Now we can see the Apple Store logo is on top of the Google Play Store, and it should be aligned in a row, and also it has some space in between. So we are going to use the div to wrap these 2 logos. So we use the div and then replace all of these inside here, and then we are going to add the margin top of 3 and also have the flex, and then we save it and we back to here. You can see it already aligned in a row and also has some space, so it should have some gap in between. So we have to add space x2. Now we back to our own website. You can see we have the space in between these 2 logos, and which is the same as this one. So this is how to create a login page. What I just see is we forgot to add the forgot password, so we also have to add this to our web page. Right before the end of the second div, we add this A tag, and which is a darker blue, and also the text is extra small, and it creates a margin top of 4 units and cursor pointer. So when you mouse over the button, I place in the wrong place, so we should cut this. We should back to the first div rather than the second div, so we should place at here. Now you can see the forgot password already placed in the correct position, and when mouse over it, it will become a fingers. And this is how to create the Instagram login page.